Good morning, guys. It is Sunday and no football. I know I'll be the 100 millionth person to make that joke. No football. Football's over. College basketball, though, it was great yesterday. Great games all the way across the board. Going to go through them in a second. Maryland plays Iowa tonight, 5 o'clock. Going to preview that one before I get out of here. But McClung dunk contest, if you didn't see it, go watch it. Insane, insane. I don't even have words for what he was doing yesterday. He had five of them. I don't know which one was my favorite. Castle of the Spurs had a couple awesome dunks. 3-point shooting contest was they got to do something different. Like I don't know. Buddy Hield had like 31 in the shooting in his first round, and then had a hard time getting going in the second. It wasn't super entertaining, but the dunk contest was great. McClung was awesome. All right, let's go through these games here because start with the Arkansas Texas A&M game. Literally was, if you told me it was 50-50 with 2:45 left, I would have been like, yep, that's pretty much what I expected. Just a gritty defensive game, a lot of just physical. Man, those are teams you just don't feel like playing. And sure enough, Arkansas just could not get a basket at the end of the game. It was 50-50, and then A&M goes on the run. Some of you might have got 8.5. I think it was 8.5 most of the week. Stuck at 7.5 for me, so I lose by half a point. A&M is, man, two of my favorite coaches there, Buzz Williams and Calipari for Arkansas. So that was the first one. Wisconsin made me look good. Wisconsin's shot making in the second half was absolutely incredible. I don't think Wisconsin can go to the Final Four, but geez whiz. Tanjay, just awesome yesterday. The worst thing that happened yesterday was in the Wisconsin game. Relatively early in the first half, backup guard on Wisconsin was going through a screen. Like, I mean, you can't get inside someone's head, but it didn't look like he was trying to punch the guy in Purdue in the nuts. It didn't look like it. I think that's what ended up happening. Upon review, they kick him out of the game. That's just too much. Shouldn't kick him out of the game. And then why are they reviewing everything? Billis was talking about it in the Auburn-Alabama game. I think it was the Auburn-Alabama game or the Houston game, one of those two games. But the review at the end of the game is just horrible. It's worse than the NBA. It's slowing it down. That was the theme throughout the day yesterday. Is like, man, watching these games live it's not very enjoyable. They better do something because all these time nobody wants all the timeouts at the end. So that was yeah. Anyway, Wisconsin was great. They beat Purdue. Purdue can't win the national championship this year, in my opinion. They just don't play good enough defense. They got the guard. They got the shooters. They're solid. They'll probably win. They can probably beat almost anybody when they're playing great, but they're not consistent enough on defense. So I don't really think Wisconsin or Purdue is a Final Four team. Wisconsin beat them yesterday. Really good win for them. Tennessee came back against Vandy, down by a lot. The gritty win for Tennessee. I don't know if they have enough shot making, though, to go all the way. They seem very similar to how they've been the past couple of years under Rick Barnes. They had Connect last year, Dalton Connect, the rookie on the Lakers, and that wasn't enough. And they haven't really replaced him. When their defense isn't amazing, they're a very average team. So they did get the win yesterday. I was probably most impressed with Houston, probably most annoyed with myself for not picking Houston because I wanted to pick them. I had about 6 or 7 games that I liked, but only went with my two favorite. Houston's shot making and defense down the stretch was incredible. They were down, I think they were down 10. They were at least down 7 in the second half to Arizona and just went on an amazing run where Arizona can't win the national championship. They can't make the Final Four. They can't get good shots. They just get suffocated. Houston's defense, and then L.J. Cryer, who feels like he's been there for 100 years, the guard on Houston, made incredible shots down the stretch. You don't have to like Sampson, but every year they have the same team, which is gritty defense, long. The way they box out, as a coach who does a million boxing out drills, I don't know what they're doing. I need to figure out what their boxing out drills are because it is the best boxing out I've ever seen. Everybody's boxing out. Houston did a great job to beat Arizona yesterday. Georgia continues to fall apart as they lose again at home to Missouri. It's like the SEC dominates basketball this year. Duke scores 300 points as they beat Stanford. Game wasn't really close. Didn't see much of that. It was 106-70. The Auburn-Alabama game was amazing. Awesome to watch. I came away from that game thinking both teams could make the Final Four, which was probably not the hottest take in the world. Alabama, though, is living and dying by the three, so they just couldn't make a lot of threes early. They pretty much played the same way they did last year, where they beat Carolina and then lost to Connecticut. And they got the guard Sears, who's awesome, the lefty, but they don't get a lot of easy shots, a lot of threes. They don't play great defense. Janai Broome, I guess he's the best player in college basketball, him or Cooper Flagg. If he goes to the right team in the NBA, he's going to play 15 years and be an all-star 10 of those years because his game is developing at a rapid rate. His footwork is incredible. His athleticism is incredible. He made a couple threes yesterday early to get him going, got hurt and came back in. Broome for Auburn's great, but it's the guard, Marza. I'm trying to remember his name. I think it's like three names. The lefty guard is one of my favorite players. Cool, calm, and collective. Auburn makes all their free throws down the stretch. They got guards that shoot really high free throw percentage. It's going to be tough to beat Auburn this year. Bruce Pearl's knocking on the door. He's been knocking on the door for a while. Whether or not he gets it this year might be his best chance because this Auburn team is absolutely loaded. What else? Kentucky loses to Texas. Not a very strong showing by Kentucky here down the stretch, battling injuries and feels like they peaked a month or so ago. Mississippi State wins at Ole Miss, another SEC game. Probably the most impressive performance last night goes to Michigan. Illinois just couldn't score at the end of the game. Like, literally, they just did not score. Michigan State just put the clamps down. The over was looking great, then it stopped. Michigan State, Tom Izzo's passes big Bob Knight for Big Ten wins. What a great win for Michigan State. Michigan State kind of flying under the radar this year because they seem like they've been like a middle of the pack team who gets hot around tournament time the past half a dozen years. But this year, they're going to be a top 3 seed. Dominant performance in the second half over Illinois. And then Florida rolls. Kansas can't figure them out. They lose to Utah. So Kansas loses to end the night. A lot of great basketball. Today's great. Michigan's at Ohio State. That's quite not quite the football rivalry, but should be fun. Ohio State's trying to get into the tournament. They need that game. Creighton's at St. John's. If you haven't watched St. John's, do yourself a favor and watch them this afternoon. Pitino, on the short list of best coaches I've ever seen in my life. No matter where he goes, I forget the damn school he was at that took him to the tournament the other year. Where was he? Anyway, he just always wins, always figures it out. This team is fantastic. They play hard. Great to watch. Creighton's very well coached as well, and they're going to shoot the lights out. Should be a fun game in the Garden this afternoon. And then Maryland. So where's Maryland at? Where's Iowa at? I would say Maryland is all but guaranteed here into the tournament. They've played themselves, into the chance to get a 3, 4, 5, or 6 seed, maybe a 7 if they kind of fall apart, but they're right there. They kind of are what they are. They need to figure out what the rotation's going to be in a tight game, because in the tight game against Nebraska, they basically went 5. I contest that Jay Young's got to play more. Gillespie's got to take a little bit of a break. Maybe they play together and you go with one big guy. Deshaun Harris-Smith, Kapari, they got to figure out how to get a few extra minutes here for some of these guys in order to make the deep runs of the tournament. But they are coming off a nice win against Nebraska, and they're going to get Iowa today at home. Iowa is falling apart here. They are 14-10 overall, 5-8 in the Big Ten. Their season was pretty much over the other night against Rutgers. It looked that way. They were down 42-33 at halftime. It was 11 earlier at one point. And then they had the best half of their season. They scored 51 points. They win, come from behind. The score it was a lot closer. They win by 11, but it was a 2-point game with 2 minutes left. But nonetheless, they came back on the road, won the game, and essentially gave themselves a chance here to make the tournament, because they don't have to win out, but they got to do damn close to it. They're like I said, they're 5-8 in the Big Ten. You're only going to have 15 teams in the Big Ten make it. 3 teams don't get to make the Big Ten tournament. So I was essentially flirting with that. I think they're 12th or 13th right this second. So they certainly need to win this game, whereas Maryland can afford to lose. That's why I'm not excited about giving up the points. It's 11 and a half points. If you want to bet the over, I might do that. I haven't decided yet. It's 159 points, I think is what it is. Iowa does not play defense. They really don't have an answer for Maryland. The thing is, Iowa's offense runs like an NBA offense where it's threes, threes, threes. They lost one of their best players earlier in the year, and they're kind of scraping it together, trying to figure it out. Like I mentioned, they just beat Rutgers in the comeback win. So they have a couple of good wins on their resume. Then they have a couple of, I think they gave up 116 to Wisconsin earlier this year, which is really hard to do in 40 minutes of basketball. 116 points, gave up 99, 94. They can't rebound. They're a really efficient 3-point shooting team, and then that's kind of the limit on Iowa. McCaffrey, what's his first name? Fram, one of the best coaches in all of college basketball. Has been there for 15 years. The Big Ten kind of breeds this. A lot of guys that have been here for a minute. Their best player is Peyton Sandfort, who's senior. He's 6'8", inside outside game. His 3-point shooting's been down this year. I would be surprised if we couldn't handle him. He's not the most dynamic scorer. Miguel, Rice, even Reese could probably guard him. Not really worried about him. Josh Dix is the guy to look out for. He's the guy that Maryland. He's the type of guy that Maryland has problems with. It was the same thing with the what's his face. Nebraska's guard got going, but the game before that, Ohio State, Thornton. I think that's his name, right? Bruce Thornton, just like a bowling ball, right? Like this looks like a freaking running back, and he was able to kind of bully his way, get where he wanted. A little bit bigger than Gillespie. That's the Josh Dix. He's 6'4", scored 26 points against Rutgers. Kind of was the catalyst for them last time out. Gets 14 a game. He's the key. If he gets going tonight for Iowa, then it's a 50-50 game. If not, Maryland should roll 7 to 15 points without there being a problem. The most interesting stat for Iowa, I don't even know how I can read this, and this is true. They lead the Big Ten in field goal percentage. They shoot 49.5% from the field, and they're second in 3-point at 37.8. And yet they're 5-8 in the conference. So it just goes to show you that you want to shoot the ball. That's great. You make a lot of shots, but if you can't stop anybody, then it's just eventually you're going to have shooting nights where it just doesn't pan out. And I think some of those shooting numbers are inflated against inferior opponents. The thing about Maryland and watching teams like Houston and Michigan State yesterday play defense at the end of the game, Maryland's got to play better defense. That's what I'm looking for tonight. I know Queen and Reese and Gillespie and Rice and Miguel, they're all really good. I mean, they're all probably going to play professional basketball. If the smaller guys don't make it to the NBA, there's definitely money to be made overseas. They're all incredible basketball players, but the defense is lacking here. They're playing a lot of minutes. It's got to be better tonight. I know that's the focus going against Iowa. We'll see if they get it done. I'll have bets out. If there's anything I love, I'm leaning Creighton because it's just too many points with St. John's there. Now I know everybody wants to bet St. John's. Oh, I forgot. UConn lost at the buzzer to whatchamacallit. Who they was it not Butler? Who they lose to yesterday? Seton Hall, right? Seton Hall, pretty sure. Yeah, they lose. UConn, they just haven't been able to get going this year. They won a couple. Yeah, they lost to Seton Hall pretty much at the buzzer, like 3 seconds left on a tip back. They beat Marquette the other Saturday. It was a week or two ago. But yeah, UConn is certainly not going to be favored here to defend their title. Right now, it's looking, kind of put a bow on it. You got Auburn right there. I think Houston's right there. Florida's got to be there. Tennessee's got to be there. Texas A&M's got to be there. I don't know if Duke's the best team, but I hope that's not the case. But they really are solid. Carolina beat Syracuse yesterday to keep their hopes alive. Kind of a throwaway game, right? North Carolina at Syracuse and nobody cares. Oh, yeah, that's the one last thing I wanted to do with North Carolina. Maybe ESPN, I don't know if other networks are guilty of this, but maybe we need to do scheduling a little bit differently. Because if you wanted to watch the Carolina game yesterday, you missed the entire first half as we had to watch reviews and timeouts with the Houston-Arizona game. 2 hours is not enough time for a college basketball game. So they schedule these 12, 2, 4, and it's like we're gonna miss these games here. So same thing with the. Oh, I'm sorry, we missed the beginning of that because of the Auburn Alabama game. That's right, Auburn Alabama decided whatever over you have in this game, we'll make sure it goes over. As they kept failing and failing and failing, and we, they just need to schedule it better because it just doesn't make any sense. And by the time they put the Carolina game on, it was halfway done the first half. But that Auburn game finished yesterday. To me, when you're watching these games from a gambling standpoint, and it's like the fouls at the end make or break it, it just takes me back to like roulette or blackjack. Like I spent all this time researching this game when really it's just a 50-50 thing at the end. So as I always say, if you're getting these games right and they're not very close and you're winning consistently, good for you. Most of the time it kind of just evens out as a lot of these games are 50-50. All right, that's that. I will be here tomorrow. I want to talk more about the Orioles tomorrow. There's a couple things I said yesterday. I want to make sure I clarify here because I don't think Kjerstad's getting traded. I just thought that, Carlson being given $1 million essentially was interesting. He does have minor league options. Whether or not he wants to go there, he probably won't have a choice. But a couple people messaged me and said that, where I think Kjerstad was getting traded. I don't think he's getting traded. I don't think he's getting traded. I just wouldn't. It would be if they had to move somebody. He's pretty much the only guy left to move as they've kind of molded everything else together. And if Carlson's great out of spring training and they got the right offer, I think they can move Kjerstad. But I was just kind of opining that, it's Carlson essentially has to be on the minor league team. He does have the options there. They can move him up if they want to. They got to rehabilitate his swing, his confidence. So, yeah, maybe I was a little hyped up about Kjerstad yesterday, but I don't think he's going anywhere. Hope he doesn't go anywhere. All right, see you guys in the morning. Do more on the Orioles, recap the Maryland game, and, enjoy yourself today and enjoy the NBA All-Star game. I don't know what it's going to look like, but we shall see. All right, see you guys.